Hello, it's Ms. Edwards, and I'm going to explain 2.5 compare and order fractions, decimals, and percents. The note should already be filled out, so I'm going to just jump right into the examples. Example 1 says fill in each bubble or circle with less than, this one, greater than, or equals to make a true statement. So I have 5/8 and I have 7/12, and I need to make sure that they're both in the same denominator. I look at 8 and I look at 12, and I have to think of a number that both of those can go into. If it's not obvious right off the bat, I can always just make a list of the greatest common factor of 8 and 12. So 8, the factors, or sorry, not greatest common factor, I'm so sorry, least common multiple. So the least, or the multiples of 8 would be 8, 16, 24, and then the multiples of 12 would be 12, 24, and then look at that. They have 24 as their least common multiple. So I'm going to change 5/8 to be over 24, and then I'm also going to change 7/12 to be over 24. So how do I change the fraction? Well, I say from 8 to 24, I would multiply it by 3. So I do the same thing to the top. And 5 times 3 is 15. So my equivalent fraction of 5/8 is 15/24. Do the same thing with 7/12. How do I get from 12 to 24? I multiply by 2. So I do the same thing to the top. 7 times 2 is 14. So I have two fractions. I have 15/24 now. And I have 14/24. And they're in the same place as they were over here. I just have now converted them. So now it's a whole lot easier to compare because they both have the same denominator. And which is bigger, 15 or 14? That would be 15. So my answer is a greater than symbol, and I can also put it over here. That is my answer, that 5/8 is greater than 7/12. All right, example number 2 is asking to order the fractions from least to greatest. And again, I need to have a common denominator. I look at 2, 14, 4, and 7. Well, 2 and 7 can both go into 14. So the only thing I really have to figure out is the least common multiple of 14 and 4. So I can list those. 4 would be 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, and then 14 would be 14, 28. So my least common multiple would be 28. So now I have to change all of these into over 28. So first, let's change 1/2 to be over 28. How do I get from 2 to 28? That's multiplying by 14. So do the same thing to the top, and I get 14 over 28. Hopefully you can see that. It's a little small, but yeah, I multiplied 2 times 14 to get 28. So do the same thing to the top, which is 1 times 14, and I get 14. So that's 1/2. So now let's change 9 over 14. How do I get 14 to 28? I just multiply by 2. So the same thing to the top. 9 times 2 is 18. Again, hopefully you can see that. But again, from 14 to 28, I multiply by 2. So do the same thing to the top. 9 times 2 is 18. Sorry, I'm just running out of room here. Let's move 3/4 down here. So let's make 3/4 over 28. And how do I get from 4 to 28? I just multiply by 7. Do the same thing to the top. 3 times 7 is 21. And let's put our last one kind of up here. 5/7 over 28. So 7 to 28 is, I would just multiply by 4. do the same things to the top. 5 times 4 is 20. So I have 14 28, 18 28, 21 28, and 20 28. So let's put those numbers in order first and then figure out the equivalency. So first it would go 14 over 28. Then it would be 18 over 28. Then it would be 20 over 28. And then it would be 21 over 28. So now that I have these in order, now I have to figure out what are the equivalencies. So 14 over 28 was 1/2. 18 over 28 was 9/14. Sorry, 18 over 28 is 9/14. 20 over 28 is 5/7. And 21 over 28 is 3/4. So now I have them in order, and that is my final answer. So now that we have compared fractions by making equivalent fractions, and we've also put them in order using equivalent fractions, you guys are going to do the try it, A, B, and C, and also D, and then also the practice, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, sorry. These we're going to skip because that is going to be part B tomorrow. And then you also have 5 and 6 to do. Let me know if there are any questions.